In this video, we're going to take a look at Module 61, and it's about Monopoly and kind of an introduction to some of the basics of Monopoly. So the first question is the Check Your Understanding number 1. There's actually 2 Check Your Understandings in this one. And it gives you a table with a total revenue schedule of an emerald company. And then it asks you to calculate the values for 4 other items, and then it asks you an additional question. So the table that it gives you is quantity and total revenue. So at quantity, what we'll say is 1, and so these are the values from their table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and their total revenue 100, 186, 252, 280, and 250. And for A, it says figure out the demand schedule. And a demand schedule just means figure out the quantity and the price. So we're going to do the price column here. So that's all that is demand schedule is quantity with the price. So in order to do this, we have to know something. We have to know that TR is equal to price times quantity. So if we know that, and we've got a little calculator here off to the side here, you can see we can see that here, if the total revenue is 100 and we sold 1, that's just 100. But we know that if the total revenue is 186 and the quantity is 2, then it's 186 divided by 2, so that's 93. And then 252 divided by 3 is 84. And 280 divided by 4 is just 70, because 4 goes into 28 7 times, and then 5 goes into 250 50 times. So then part B says the marginal revenue schedule. So marginal revenue. Now marginal revenue is the change in total revenue divided by the change in quantity. So I'm just going to write change in total revenue. Divided by the change in the quantity. Now, each time the change in quantity is going to be 1, so it's really just the change in total revenue for each of these. So hopefully we can see the change in total revenue from 100 to 86 is 86. Right? And I'm going to do these, but even though we know that that's not 100 to 93, it's actually 100 to 86. And then from the second to the third is 252 minus 186, and that's 66. And then 280 to 252 is 28. And then 250 to 280 is actually negative 30. Negative 30. Okay. And then it says part C, the quantity effect component of marginal revenue at each output level, and D, the price effect. So this requires you to kind of understand 2 related concepts. That as they lower the price here, they're going to be losing some revenue as a result of lowering the price. So when they lower the price from 1 to 2, right, they're giving up $7 worth of price that they would have gotten on the first unit, but they're gaining, right, they're gaining a little bit more than that. They're gaining the 93 from the second unit. Right? They're gaining the 93 from selling the second unit for $93. So the 93 is what they gain in the quantity effect. They lose the 7, so 93 minus 7 is 86. So for this one, this is going to be the quantity effect, and this is going to be the price effect. And so all of the price effects, because we're lowering the price, are all going to be negative, and all of the quantity effect is considered like the benefit you get from selling an additional quantity, right? So, and one way to think about this is like it's the additional price of the next unit that you gained. So for example, the second unit, right, the additional unit was 93, so you gained 93, but you had to lower the price $7 of the previous unit in order to sell that one. So 93 minus 7 is 86. Now the third unit, right, you gained from selling it. And how much did you gain? Well, you gained 84. Because you sold it for 84, you gained 84 by selling an additional unit. But you gave up something. When you lowered the price from 93 to 84, you lost 6, 7, 8, 9, and you lost that $9 twice because you had to lower the price of not only the first and the second one by 9. So you lost by 18. So 84 minus 18 is actually 66. Now the next unit, we gained 70 by selling it, right? But how much do we have to lower the price by? Well, we had to lower the price 14 on that one, and 14 times 3 is 42. Now, why did I just do times 3? Well, because when we gained the fourth unit, we had to lower the price by 14 on the first, the second, and the third unit. All three of these units used to be 84, and now in order to sell the fourth unit, I had to drop the price on all three of those by 14. Now the last one, the additional gain, was 50, right? Because I sold it for 50. But think about it, I had to lower the price $20 on these first 4 units in order to sell the fifth unit for 50. So $4, I lost 20 here, I lost 20 here, I lost 20 here, I lost 20 here. That's negative 80. And again, you can check your work to see that 50 minus 80 is the marginal revenue of negative 30. Then it says part E. What additional information would be needed to determine their profit maximizing output? Well, we know their marginal revenue, so what we would need is the marginal cost at each quantity of output. Okay, so now we're going to do number 2, and number 2 says replicate figure 61.3 and use your graph to show what happens to the following when the marginal cost rises from 200 to 400. Use the information in the table 61.1 to identify specific numbers for prices and quantities on your graph, and then it gives you some things to label. So the graph that's in 61.3 looks like this. It's a monopolist, and as usual, right, because we're in the monopoly section, and it actually gives you that MC equals ATC, and it tells you that that's at originally 200. And then this comes down and hits here, and that's at roughly 20. So this is just the original picture. This is at 16. And then this one comes here, and that value, it says, is 10. And this one is 8. And then the price is at 600. So this is the original value, and then this intercept up here is 1,000. Okay, so at this point, it says that the price goes up. The price goes up from the marginal cost goes up from 200 to 400, and then use the information in the table to identify the specific numbers. So this curve is going to shift up, right? It goes up to 400. So we have a new MC1 equals ATC1, and that's at 400. And then we need to figure out, so we've gotten, that's part A, the new marginal cost curve. Part B is profit maximizing price and quantity. And C, so that's what we're going to look for, is actually, what's this value up here? Because we're looking for MC equals MR, right? And so our new price will be up here, and this new quantity will be down here. C says the profit, so the total profit, and D says the quantity if the diamond were perfectly competitive and the associated profit. So Q if PC. Okay, so let's take a look at table 61.1 in order to do this. Now 61.1, right, at here, one way to think about this, at this quantity that's going to be less than 8, right? And we'll kind of take a look here and see that as the price rises from 600 to 700, the quantity is going to fall from 8 to 6. Okay, so the quantity is going to fall from 8 to 6. From 8 to 6. So there's our 6, and there's our 700, right? And then we can see that our cost here, right? Our cost here would be this, and so our profit, or sorry, our loss would be this area. Or that's actually the profit. Excuse me, I'm getting among myself. I'll turn around because the price is 700, the cost is 400. So the price and the quantity at profit maximizing, so that would be $6. Or man, I keep flipping these. It's did I flip those around? No, sorry. I'm used to these numbers being smaller than that. All right. So, I'm struggling here. $700 is the price, and the quantity equals 6. The profit is 7 minus 4 is 300 times 6. That's 1,800. And if it were perfectly competitive, right? If it were perfectly competitive, then the amount actually that they would produce would be at where demand equals the supply curve, right? The demand equals the supply curve. Now, where would that be? The amount that they used to end up producing, would have been here, S, would have been at 16. But now they're not producing that quantity anymore. They would produce at this quantity if they were perfectly competitive. Perfectly competitive. And that would just be where supply equals demand. And we're going to talk a little bit about that more in later videos. And that quantity, if I'm changing correctly, is here, and I'm looking actually to see what it would be 12 at $400. So in that table 61.1, $400 corresponds to quantity 12. So 12. Okay, let's take a look at some of the multiple choice questions. Multiple choice question number 1. Refer to the graph for the questions 1 through 4. Monopolist's profit maximizing output, that's where MR equals MC, so that would be 4. That's B. 2. Monopolist's total revenue is going to be the price times the quantity. So the price is 60 times the quantity of 4 is 240. So that is 240 is C. Number 3. The monopolist's total cost is the ATC times the quantity. So that's 20 times 4 is 80. So that's going to be B. Number 4. And the profit is the difference between the two, so 60 minus 20 times 4. That's just 40 times 4 is 160. And 160 is D. Okay. And number 5, how does a monopoly differ from a perfectly competitive firm or perfectly competitive industry with the same costs? So we would say that it produces a smaller quantity, it charges a higher price, and it doesn't necessarily earn normal profit in the long run. That's not always a given. So the correct answer is 1 and 2 only, D. Okay, and again, we're going to take a look later on in some of the lecture videos as to the comparison between perfect competition and monopoly. Okay, and now free response question number 2. To wrap it all up. Draw a graph showing a monopoly earning a normal profit in the short run. Assume that the MC cost curve is swoosh-shaped, and can a monopoly earn a positive profit in the long run? Explain. So this is a fairly straightforward one if we were paying attention during class. We did that in lecture video 4.3 part 2. So we've got downward sloping equals the price, marginal revenue, marginal cost equals the supply curve, and they're going to produce at the quantity where MR equals MC. They're going to price up here on the demand curve. Okay, that's the price the firm charges, and if they're earning a normal profit, then P is equal to ATC at QF. So that's going to mean this is going to come down, just touch, come back over, hit the minimum, right, of ATC and come over. So that's how that one should look. That's a normal profit in the long run or in the short run. It doesn't really matter. It's a monopoly. So that's A. This is B. B says, can it earn a positive profit in the long run? Explain. Yes. Because, right, and that's because high barriers to entry prevent new firms from opening. High barriers would prevent another firm from opening. So in perfect competition, other firms would open up, but in a monopoly, that doesn't happen. So hopefully this helped you with our questions from Module 61, and I'll see you next time.